Okay. Hello. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, I'm Steve Jones. I'm a flight paramedic with London's Air Ambulance. I've been on the London Ambulance Service for 33 years as a motorcycle paramedic, and I've been a flight paramedic with London's Air Ambulance for the last 20 years.
That's brilliant. And can I ask you about your experiences over lockdown in London? Anything specifically unique to London Air Ambulance would be brilliant.
Yeah, it was an interesting time, if that's the right word, and difficult certainly for the first 3 weeks, because we're a trauma service. People weren't going out. People weren't going out in their cars. They weren't getting involved in trauma. So for the first 3 weeks, it got really quiet for us. On the other, London Ambulance Service, on the whole, have never been busier. We were going to far more cardiac arrest than we've ever been to. And then after 3 weeks, it started to get back to normal. People started to go out in their gardens with their chainsaws and started doing a bit of gardening, and we was having quite a few chainsaw incidents. Out in their cars, road traffic accidents, definitely increasing violence, definitely, and that has continued to grow over the last 6 months, and so we're back to normal now. Things that are different for us, because when we're landing, we can't always land right next to where the case is, so we rely on the police quite heavily to collect us and drive us to the scene from the landing site. Because the police, certainly over the last few months, where they've been so busy with the violence, they're not available. So we're having to run further to the scene with our pack. Now our packs they're heavy anyway, but we've got extra PPE on board as well now, which are only paper suits, but that does add to the weight. So a 50-something bald fat bloke running down the road is quite hard work. So when we're running from the scene to the incident, and still have to provide the medical care when we get there. So that's difficult. Certainly in the hotter weather, working in the PPE that we had was really quite draining. Really quite exhausting. And these are the sickest patients in London that we're going to, and we are potentially doing open chest surgery at the side of the road, which we do quite regularly, unfortunately. That is quite hard work anyway, but with COVID, with the PPE restrictions, with face masks and paper suits, etc., that was quite difficult. That was something that's certainly memorable for me.
Yeah, it sounds tricky, very tricky. Yeah, we wouldn't come up, we wouldn't have to deal with anything like that, and we were suffering enough in the heat. Can I ask you, now, going on to another question, what is your favourite place in London and why?
I don't have one place. I have a few. In fact, if I can answer that. My favourite bridge is Waterloo Bridge. It's quite a dull bridge when you look at it, but the view from Waterloo Bridge is by the best view across the river that you can see. You can see all the buildings, you can see the London Eye, you can see everything from there. So that's my favourite bridge. My favourite place is probably the Mall or Horse Guards Parade. Seeing the household cavalry going up and down in their reds or their blues. That is, to me, that's London, and that's probably my favourite place. If I was going to tell anyone to come to London, as a tourist, you have to go there because it is London. If you describe London to a child, they're almost certainly Buckingham Palace, Horse Guards Parade, with the guards on parade. Will be something they're going to look for.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah. I agree with you, and you probably see it from other angles as well, don't you? From above.
From our other angle, it's so when we're going on a mission, we're thinking about going on the mission, and we're always in, and we're doing calculations for drug dosages, etc., en route to the mission. But on the way back, if we haven't got a patient, or we're we got picked up from say St Mary's Hospital by the helipad, by the aircraft there. We'll fly back to London, and that's our time we can sort of look out the window and look at the view. Now the view, over 20 years doing it's changed significantly. I don't get bored of it. I look at the same view most days, and it's quite a privileged place to be. Flying over Buckingham Palace, that's very, very privileged position to look down at the gardens and stuff like that. So yeah, we're really lucky. We're really lucky that we can do that. But it's a necessity to get across London. We have to get across London as quick as we can to get to these patients who are dying. We don't get there.
Yeah, you really make a difference with the saving lives, isn't it? That time.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go on to the next question. What is your favourite thing about London?
My favourite thing about London? I think the tourists. I think that side of London. Central London is where everyone comes into, and I think the hustle and bustle. I think the meeting people who you've never met before, who come from all around the world, that they've got an interesting story. They're going to ask us. They'll ask us about Nelson's Column. Who is out on top of Nelson's Column, and we'll tell them about that. And then having a little bit of local knowledge as well, we can add a little bit to that as well, and a little bit of tourism. So I love about London. My favourite bits, really.
Yeah, and finally, can you describe London in 3 words?
London's 3 words: vibrant, exciting, home. Home is. I live in Kent, but 50% of my time I'm in London, working in the centre of London, whether it be on the helipad or at Ambulance HQ. So that is where I'm living. So yeah, home. Yeah, vibrant, exciting, and home.
Okay. And Kush, shall we just hustle the people watching for a bit of money? Would you like to say in your words? Yeah.
Get your tickets. They're £3 each. Phenomenal prizes, and there's lots of them. Buy some artwork. The artwork is great artwork, and 10% of everything sold goes to London's Air Ambulance. So thank you very much. So not only do you get a beautiful painting or picture on your wall, you're also still helping us. The tickets, there are some great prizes. One of them is come up to the helipad, where you can do a bit of a shout out.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Steve. All right, and everybody might be able to see you again on the private view if they log on to the Zoom. You're going to give a little bit of talk about what you do and your unique experiences again in the live Zoom chat. So
Yes.
hope to see you all there then. Okay. All right.
Yeah. See you Wednesday night.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
That's all right.
Oh, I hope that worked.